So we have Hakoin's lecture pre-recorded as he is in meetings, and we'll fire up the lecture right now. Just let me know if you don't hear it, or if you have any kind of issue whatsoever.
Shabbat Shalom Mishpacha. This is Rabbi Simon Hakoin, speaking from the East. Now, I'm pre-recording this lecture because I will not be around. I will probably be traveling, more than likely. Already traveled on the day. And I'll be busy in some meetings, probably, at the end of the Shabbat, or when your Shabbat starts, your Sabbath starts, my Sabbath probably already at the end. And I'll be involved in some meetings. So therefore, I've decided to record this lecture earlier and send it to Rabbi Kefa so that he may hand it over to you. Now, I've just been, glancing over the news in the U.S., and I've had some reports from my students in the U.S. as well, and it looks like that, my goodness, the U.S. has been snowed under. I mean, that's an understatement. Snowed over, I should say. It's been snowed over, and it looks like that it's been pretty heavy in some parts of the country compared to others. And Rabbi Kefa sent me some pictures of the snow over there, and it is still piling up. He was telling me that they had no light for I think it was 20 hours plus, so no energy, and I can imagine that because I have seen blackouts over here. Obviously not as long as 20 hours. I've seen blackouts for about 6 hours at most, 6.5 hours at worst end. I haven't experienced these blackouts recently, but I did see them last year over here during the summertime, and not every day, but maybe once a week. The light will go out in certain areas, and you wouldn't be able to have light for about, maximum about 6 hours. But 20 hours no light, wow, for America, that's something. I mean, America has just been snowed over, and it's just that the country's having a hard time coping with all the problems. But I'm thinking, from a positive point of view, I'm thinking that actually might be good for the disease, for the plague, for the virus that's around. It might actually, mean that kind of cold weather, some parts are like -20, maybe more. I'm thinking that would probably kill the disease in some areas. They were talking about, heat killing the disease, but I think the adverse is true as well, that real cold can also kill the disease. So I'm thinking that from a positive point of view, that yes, people, in America generally will be experiencing cold weather, and of course it's important to keep warm, but nonetheless, it's probably a good idea that the virus itself will also not be able to survive such temperatures either. So in a sense, this may be the beginning of the end of this virus as well. This is another thing that it looks to me that might be on the positive side. Now, having said that, of course there's vaccines, and there's more vaccines, and there's going to be more vaccines. So, those people that feel they're vulnerable, those people that feel that vaccines will help them, sure, if this is what the government is telling you, and if you feel like that you're in a vulnerable group, and that you have underlying conditions, then yes, maybe that's something that you need to consider for yourself. But by and large, as you know, that if you work in the medical, if you work in the medical sector, hospitals and health centers and the like, then of course you're at the front line to receive the vaccine anyway, whether you like it or not. So, of course, we talk about mitigating factors. We talk about mitigating the effect or the side effect of the vaccine, because there will be some side effects that I don't think really have come out entirely. Different people suffer different types of side effects. Nevertheless, I don't want to scare anybody, but I do want to say this, that there are vaccines out there, and you probably have a choice between different companies. I know that for myself, I'm not there, but when I go back to America, I'm going to have a vaccine just for the heck of it, because, I won't be given a choice as I have to travel, and it's quite likely that airlines are going to demand that you have some kind of vaccine before you can travel. So for me, it's a given. I'm not going to have a choice in the matter. But for a lot of you, you will have a choice in the matter, and so you're going to have to decide per individual basis, depending on your conditions. If you have underlying conditions, then sure, you're going to have to think seriously about a vaccine and which one to take. Whether you take the Moderna, the Pfizer, the 2 shots, or whether you take the single shot, Johnson & Johnson. So that's basically on the news front, that, a lot of cold weather, a lot of accidents in Texas, so that, lorries skidding and 4-wheel drive cars, just sliding along like, like it's an ice skating rink, and all of that going on. But, be careful. Of course, only go out if you have to. Stay indoors and stay warm. Only go out if you really have to go out, then you go out. Otherwise, you stay indoors. Now, I wanted to read to you, because this parsha is Parsha's Teruma, and Teruma is all about giving, giving to God for your betterment. God doesn't need money as such. God's not like a man that he has to go and buy groceries, from Walmart. So God doesn't need money in that sense. But the money that you give out, that money that you give, as charitable offering, as a tithing offering, that money will circulate, because money is energy. Money will circulate and it will come back to you in the end with some multiplication factor. That's the importance of giving. And if you understand that part, then you will never regret giving money for tithing and for Zadaqah. Zadaqah means charitable offerings. And even, offerings that you might, be going along, and somebody might say, some poor guy on the street say, hey, give me $1 for food, and you gave him $1 for food, then of course even that returns back to you. So it's all good. It is not bad. It is all good to do that. And I highly encourage you to think about these things and do the right thing. Do what the Torah requires you. Be compliant with the Torah. And that's what will benefit you in the long term. Now, I wanted to read a little testimony that I received from my student of mine. And this is a recent student. And she's not a hasn't been a long-term student. She only became a student very recently. And so I thought it would be a good idea for me to read out some of the testimony that she has given me. It's a beautiful testimony, and you'll definitely be encouraged by it. So I will read the email that arrived from my student, and I will omit the names so that at least I can give you the summarization of the testimony. And this is what my student has said. What a great class today. I appreciate you, and I wanted to give you a testimony. And she tells me that I started listening to your meditation about a month ago and doing the Gimel chant with the beads. You pronounced a blessing over me in the email. I printed it out and I taped it to the wall in my office. And then she talks about this property that she had been trying to purchase as a flip, and it was supposed to go to foreclosure, and her attorney did not think that the judge would grant the extension and consider her offer. And she tells me that not only did the judge grant the extension, he informed my attorney about the real appraisal that was registered with the court, and the appraisal came in low, and suggested we submit this to the bank for consideration. And she says that her instinct had told her, something told her to reach out to the old client, whom she had not heard from in years. And then that client, when she reached out to that client, she told her that your timing is perfect because we are thinking of purchasing a property. And they then called the agent, asked for the property that was under the contract. And at the time the property that the client was purchasing was under contract, and then something happened that caused the buyer to walk away, and then the seller accepted the client's offer. In other words, it was removed from the other buyer and it came to this one instead. And so she said, "Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Rabbi Simon, for your help." And that's basically her testimony to me. She's asked me for the new meditation, which I've sent her, and it's a great testimony. I also have another testimony that is on its way. I haven't yet received it. I've only received it in part. It's another great testimony from somebody that I know, one of my students' daughter. And although I haven't received it yet, but until I receive that, I will get that testimony, and I will give you the summarization of that as well. Great things are happening. My students are practicing and doing the things I'm telling them, and great things are happening. That is just amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. Amazing miracles are taking place in people's lives. I'm so very happy for them. So I wanted you to know, to be encouraged, that keep up, don't give up. So keep on, continue with it, continue with your desires, continue with your exercises, and continue listening to the audios, because these audios are very powerful. And I'm going to, let me read the Abrahamic prayer to you once more, just so you get an idea. And I'll speak a little bit about this prayer, the Abrahamic prayer of Jesus of Nazareth. Avun Tvishmeya Nitgadash Shemach, Tete Malkutach Neheve Sovianach Ikena Vishmeya Apbara, Have Lan Lachma Sunkanan Yomana, Oshavo Lan Hobain, Ikena Apchanan Shwagan, Chayofen Ula Talen Bliss Yona, Ella Pasun Min Bisha, Motur Delachi Molchutach Heila Tishpuchta Le Alam Almin Amin. Now this prayer is the actual prayer that Jesus would have spoke in the Aramaic language. Now do remember that putting that into the Hebrew language and putting it into the Siddur, one of the versions, and then I think I took it out later on, down the road some point. I took it out, but I'm thinking that it really should be in there, and I'm thinking that it should be in there in both languages. I'm thinking it should be in there in the Aramaic language, and it should be there in the Hebrew language, and of course the English would be the translation of the two. So the reason why I think this prayer is so powerful, both in the Hebrew and the Aramaic, the reason why I believe it's so powerful, because remember we spoke about sounds. Hebrew has sounds, and not just the sounds, but the words are beautiful. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name. These are beautiful words. These are beautiful words, a beautiful prayer that you're giving to the Father in heaven. So to me, it's not just the sound, and there are many sounds in this prayer, and also in the Hebrew side as well. Avinu Shab, if you do the Hebrew side, Avinu Shab Shemaim, Yitkadosh Shimcha. So the idea behind the wording of the prayer and the idea behind the sounds of the prayer, both are to glorify the Father in heaven. At the same time, when you listen to those words, they expand your brain centers. They expand your centers. So, you may have difficulty pronouncing the names when you speak these prayers. Because they are sometimes a little difficult if you are not, akin to the Hebrew or the Aramaic languages. But you can listen to them. It doesn't matter what language, culture you come from. It doesn't matter what ethnicity you come from. But the important part is this, that you can listen to these prayers daily, and I would encourage you to listen to it in the morning and in the evening. Those are the two best times to listen to them. And when I say evening, I'm talking about late evening, not early evening. Late evening, like we're talking about midnight, and if that's too late for you, if you are in bed at midnight, then of course you can listen to it earlier. But if you can listen to it at, in early, if you're up, if you're an early bird, if you're up early, if you're up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning or earlier, then you can listen to it in the morning. Then you can listen to it in the evening. Then you have the Gimel chant, which is absolutely amazing. Apart from the Gimel, you have the Mim chant. Absolutely amazing. These are absolutely amazing prayers. They're amazing words. And they will generate miracles in your life. And like I spoke last time, and I said to you that if you have difficulty, in the sense that, you may not be able to maybe, you can't, for some reason or another, you can't chant the 108 times 2 or 200 times on the Gimel, then what you can do is you can record the Gimel chant 100 or 108 times at least, and you can, copy and paste it to, 216 times, and, or even just 200 times, and you can listen to them in your telephone. It means that if you don't want to sit there and chant, you can listen to it in your car. You can listen to it while you're doing kitchen work, maybe, or washing the dishes, maybe you're doing some cooking, because there are times of the day when you're cooking. There are times of the day when maybe you're washing up, or maybe you are cleaning the home. Those are the times of the day that when you're busy doing other things, you can just plug, your phone to your ear with your headset, and you can listen to these prayers. Even at those times, they will be effective. Even then, they are affecting you, but their power is slightly diminished because you're not seated down. You're not sitting down, and you're not completely focused at listening to those sounds. You're kind of offbeat listening to them. It's like, me, sitting over here, and at a distance I hear sound coming through, and it does affect me, but, it would be much more powerful if I just sat down and focused and, spared 10 minutes of my time, and come on, what is 10, 15 minutes of our time? I mean, if I can't give 10, 15 minutes of my time to betterment of my life, then what use is that life, What's the point of running around all over the shop, all over the place, and not give yourself time? And nowadays, with coronavirus all over the place, you have all the time you want. Governments don't want you to work. Government wants you to shut down your businesses and sit at home and just stay indoors. So what does that give you? Plenty of family time, plenty of listening time. So listen to good things. As I told you that when you go to bed at night, listen to good biographies, of rich people, how rich people live, how they spend their money, what they're doing with it. So, you take something with you that benefits you when you sleep. Don't listen to conspiracy theories and what that conspiracy theory says and what this one conspiracy theory says. Let me tell you one thing, and I'm going to be very frank with you and honest with you. If you always listen to conspiracy theories, you're going to find that your life is only going to revolve around conspiracy theories. And you do not want to be there. You want your life to revolve around good things in your life. You want to be benefited in your life. You want to be blessed in your life. You want to receive the blessings. Let the conspiracies out there, whether they are true or false, leave them alone. Just leave them. Just don't bother with them. That's my suggestion to you. After that, it's your life. How you spend your life is entirely up to you. As I said to you last week, to the group of people that listened to this recording last week, I said to you, and I say the same thing to you today. And that is this. Some of my students are going to be millionaires one day. And some of them are going to be billionaires one day. And I can tell you that some of my students are already millionaires. And some of them are going to be on the road to billionaires. And some of them might be between a millionaire and several hundred millionaires. Now the question is this, that do you want to spend your life chasing, this conspiracy and that conspiracy, or do you want to better your life? Now, the answer is so simple. It's a very simple answer, and there is no two answers to this question. And I would suggest to you to do things that better your life. You're all, most of you that listen to this broadcast, and I know that I have British students as well. I have students in Africa, I have students in the East, in China even, in other countries, India even. But my point is this, that by and large, majority of my students live in the USA, you're Americans. I myself, also like yourself, am an American, on top of being whatever ethnicity I am. But the point is this, that, we are one family. We're the family of Israel. We are Israelites. At the end of the day, what are we? What is our mission? And our mission is we're Israelites. And if we're Israelites, then what does being Israel mean? Being Israel means that we focus on our Torah, we focus on our lives, we focus on our families. That's where we need to be. And if we are focused in these areas, and these are all good areas, they are not bad areas, they're good areas. We focus, when we focus on family, automatically our focus is on the Torah and on God as well. Because God is always in the picture. In our lives, God's always there. God is never out of the picture in our lives. So that is where our focus needs to be. And if your focus is not in God, then I suggest you to bring your focus back. Whatever is distracting you, whatever is taking your attention away, and it may be many things in this life may take your attention away. Unless it's a family member who's sick, who needs your help, that's one thing. Of course, you need to be there for them, and you should be. That's fine. But, if you're not in that predicament, if you're not in that situation, if you're in a situation where perhaps, you're a married couple, you have some children, you're on you're by yourself as a family, or maybe you're a single woman, maybe you're a single parent, maybe you're a working mother, there are many situations such, then you can give a little time to God. Giving time to God is totally different to what, you hear out there. I'm not telling you to go to church every Sunday and spend 3 hours in the church. You give yourself that, and out of those 3 hours on Sunday, if that is what you want to do, then that's fine. But if you're going to spend 3 hours in church on Sunday and get nothing out of it, then it's not fine. So you need to give yourself, maybe you don't give yourself 3 hours a day, maybe you give yourself only 30 minutes a day. But you give yourself 30 minutes a day. And you better your life. And you do these things because these are prayers. These are not just sounds and words. These sounds and words, they have meanings, they have power behind it. You need to do those for your own benefit. I highly, highly encourage you to think about that. The Parsha is Parsha Teruma, which is from the book of Exodus, chapters 25, verses, if we go to verses 1, it says, Then Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, that they bring me an offering. From everyone who gives it willingly with his heart, you shall take my offering. And this is the offering which you shall take from them, gold, silver, and bronze, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, fine linen and goat's hair, ram skins dyed red, blue skins and acacia wood, oil for the light and spices for the anointing oil and for the sweet incense, onyx stones and stones to be set in the ephod and the breastplate, and let them make me a holy place that I may dwell among them. According to all that I show you, that is a pattern of the tent and the pattern of all its furnishings, so that you shall make it. Okay, so God here gives instructions. God wants people at that time, He wanted people at that time, Israelites, to give offerings so that they can make this box which we call the Ark of the Covenant. And also they wanted to make a breastplate with the 12 stones for the 12 tribes that the high priest would wear. And so the idea here, God wasn't trying to steal from the people of Israel because, He's greedy or something. He was trying to see that how many of the people will by themselves willingly give. And people willingly gave. And because of that giving, these clothing that God had asked them to make had been made. a menorah was asked to be created, and a menorah of 7 candelabra, where you have the 7 oil lamps, that was created. That was used in the first tabernacle in the tent, and then later it was used in the temple. So these things were created out of those things that the people gave willingly, and God blessed them tremendously. Don't just think that that's a sign for yesterday. Don't think that that was only for one day in the past. Nothing has changed. You are at the same place today. You as a family of Israel today, some of you live in America, some of you live in Europe, some of you live in the East, some of you live in other parts of the world. You are in the same place today. Nothing has changed. So remember, when you give with a glad heart, and you should tithe, you should do your tzedakah, and you should do it out of your takings. What you bring in, what you bring in home, the government already taxes you. So, from that, you should take your 10%, and 10% is tithe, and 10% is tzedakah. And you should be giving that. And if you're not giving that, then you're stealing from God. Because it is God who provides to you. Money doesn't come to you because it falls from the sky. Money comes to you because God is giving it to you as a free gift. And God is testing you whether you return that part of that free gift in order to circulate it. Because when you circulate that energy, then it will come back around to you. Now, if you don't circulate the energy of money and you hold on to it, or you misapply it, or you misuse it, then you know what happens. And I can tell you what happens, and you pretty much know the result yourself. Because what happens, you get stuck, you get one bill, then you get another bill, then another bill, and before you know it, you're overwhelmed, and you can't make payments because you obviously have stolen from God, and you do not steal from God. You do not steal money that is given you, and you hold it back, and you like, oh no, I'm not going to give it to anybody else, I want to keep it for myself. There are people like this in the world. There are people like this in the world. And they do think that they have the right to keep that money for themselves. But the problem is this, that even the very job that you do, you might think, oh, I've done hard work, and I've spent 40 hours in a week, and I'm rightfully due. But the reality is this, that you are only getting the money from grace given to you by God. Whether you believe in God, the universe, whether you believe in Him or not, whether you deny Him, the truth is this, that money that comes to you is through grace and favor of God. There is no other reason for that money to come to you other than that God has favored you, God has gifted you that money, and God loves you, and that you, and then in return tested whether you return that favor back, and whether you circulate that money so it goes to the right people. Because when money circulates, money may go from you to the grocery store. From the grocery store, it goes, it's part paid for the salaries of the people that work there. Then, it's paid for the food that is brought into the grocery stores to sell. And then, of course, the profits and the taxes, and the whole cycle continues. That's the whole cycle. And you are part of that cycle. So you need to think carefully about that when God tells you to tithe, and God tells you very clearly who to tithe to. He doesn't tell you to just give it to any Tom, Dick, and Harry out there. He tells you to give it to the Kohen in the gate. And that's what you're supposed to do. And if you do that, then you get the favor back. And if you want to see testimonies of people who have just done that versus the people who did not do that, I can give you both sides of the testimony. I can give you testimony of Rabbi Kefa. I can give you testimony of other people that have been with me, and you can see their lives versus those people's lives that did not do that, and those people that did not do that. Today, they are searching for scraps on the street. They have nothing to show for themselves. And those that did heed the instructions of God, according to the Torah that is written by the hand of Moses, they today are receiving more and more wealth in their lives. So it is very important. This is not just a lecture. This is not just about giving. I'm telling you to give in order you circulate the money When you go out to the stores, you circulate the money, you circulate the energy, you purchase your food, you circulate the money there, you purchase your gas, you circulated the money there, and you then give your tithes, you circulated the money there, your zadaqah, you circulate it. In return, it will come back to you. That is called the circulation of wealth. Now, then there may be other people who may say, well, why should I circulate my money? I spent 30 hours, 40 hours working it, and it belongs to me, and I won't give it to nobody. I'll keep it myself. And you know what happens to those people? Well, money leaves them. Sooner or later, there's a divorce between them and money leaves them. And they never see it again. And they go down, downhill until there's nothing left of them. So you definitely don't want to end up in those statistics. God has a blessing on you as Israel. If you're Israel, God has a blessing on you. If you have joined Israel, even if you were from another nation of people, and you joined Israel, then you are today 100% Israel. And God has put a blessing upon you. And that blessing means that doesn't matter where you are in the world, doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter what job you do, God will provide for your means. Whether that comes as a stimulus check from the government, whether that comes from somewhere else, you will be paid by God. That is God's responsibility in a covenant relationship. If you consider yourself in a covenant relationship, then God is your provider. God will provide for you in all means, in difficulty and in easy circumstances. You will be given the means to support yourself. You'll never look at somebody else and think, oh, well, where am I going to get my food tonight? You're not going to think that. So think carefully of how you make your decisions. Let me tell you something. Let me give you a true testimony. Rabbi Kefa knows about this. I think it was about 5 years ago, roughly, back in 2013, 2014 time period, I'll probably say even 6 years. And, we decided to go to Israel to enact a particular prayer, a particular ritual that me, Rabbi Kefa, and some other students enacted in Israel. After that, we came back, we did a repentance for all the tribes of Israel. We came back, and then I had a trip in Ghana at the time. And when I did my trip in Ghana, Rabbi Kefa knows about this, I had the intention at the time to set up a synagogue in Ghana. But unfortunately, because of the deception and the lies in Ghanaian people at the time, and I'm not saying all Ghanaian people were liars, those that came to me, well, guess what? They were liars. They were lying. They were pretending to be orphans when they were not orphans. And this happened with Kenya as well. And Rabbi Kefa will tell you the Kenyan story. They even rejected the Torah. They're so stubborn, and they paid the penalty for that afterwards too. And but the Ghanaian people, some of these Ghanaian people who came, they came as pretending to be widows, and they were not widows. They pretended to be orphans, and they were not orphans. And what happened, in the end, I ditched the idea of building a synagogue there because I did not see the people there who were truthful and willing to apply themselves. And I spoke to Rabbi Kefa, and I said, Rabbi Kefa, we are done with Africa. That's it. We're finished with Africa. We've got nothing to do with Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya. Forget all these countries. We are going to focus on our home countries. We're going to focus on the East, and we're going to focus on our home countries. And that's where we're going to keep our focus. Why? Because we did not find honest people over there. And you know what happened? Those people that came to us that lied, I had an email a few years ago, going back about 2-3 years. I had an email from Kenya first, and the Kenyan people told me that this woman, she confessed that she came pretending to be a widow, and she was not a widow, and she apologized, and she said, look, I'm sorry, Rabbi, I wasn't a widow. I was, asked to become a widow so I can get some money off you. That was Kenya's story. And I just received an email from Ghana yesterday telling me the same thing, that the Ghanaian, there were some women there that came, and they came pretending to be widows. And This is a kind of funny thing. Because, I really got to read the full story to you, because when I read the full story to you, you're gonna laugh at this. The girl said, Rabbi, I'm really sorry. I regret my actions. I was made to look like a widow. And she gave me the names of the people as well, who were part and parcel of that so-called gang. And you know what she said to me? She said to me, my whole business, the money that I tried to misuse and took by deception, I lost everything. I came onto the road. And even the people who were doing this, they are also on the road today, and they are living a miserable life because of what they did. And so she apologized, and I've forgiven that lady. But on top of that, my point is this, that, they might think that they did, they were doing themselves a favor, but actually all they did is they denied the Torah, and they tried to lie and cheat, and they got the just desserts. That's unfortunately the truth. That's what happens. When you think that, you're going to reap the kindness of a Hebrew person, an Israelite, and you're going to try to misuse the kindness, you're going to pay the penalty. Because look, I'm not an African, and neither are you. Don't ever call yourself an African. Don't ever call yourself an African American. You are not an African American. You are people that were brought over in slavery. Many of you came from good Hebrew families. The records are still there. So why would you want to call yourself African American and pretend to be somebody you're not? So don't do that. Stay away from those, those stereotypes, and make your life as a Hebrew person. Make your life as an Israelite, because you have a commanded blessing on you. And you need to remember that. So it's very important to understand that we take these things seriously. Because you have a serious blessing upon you, God has put a blessing upon you. But at the same time, don't underestimate God's blessings in your life. Don't think to yourself that, hey, I can do whatever I want to, and I can still receive a blessing. And you can see that that is not the case. If you look around yourself, you will not find this to be the case. A blessing is commanded upon those people of Israel, that family of Israel, that also respects God's laws. That's the family that receives a blessing. That's the family that has the commanded blessing upon them. And that's the family that always will receive the blessing, no matter what. Because they respect God's laws, they're in compliance with God's laws. And if you're not in compliance with God's laws, then that blessing will, it's too distant from you to be ever received. You'll never receive it. And, you might see signs of that, but it will never come through. You might say to yourself that, I'm going to receive X, Y, Z, but you'll never see it. Why? Because you're not in compliance with God's statements that God has made. And you and me, we both know that God doesn't joke. God does not joke with people. He doesn't play games with them. He doesn't tell them one thing and do another. When He tells you something, He will honor it. And you need to understand that. Now, I want to continue to emphasize this week. I want to continue to emphasize that you do the Gimel chant. I want to continue to emphasize that you do the Mem, the Mim, the Ma chant, and the Alif, Tav chant. I want you to continue to do those, because they are so very important for your life. Continue to persist. Now, if you are having difficulty, I said this last week as well, and I will repeat it again, that if we have difficulty with, some people do have difficulty with visualization, imagination, they have difficulty with it, genuinely, because maybe, their minds are not quite able to grasp or do those things as they're desiring to do. So in that case, I advised you that when you go to bed at night, all you do is you say, it's wonderful. And you continue to repeat that statement, it's wonderful, it's wonderful, it's wonderful, and you fall asleep. That's one statement. The second statement that you can make that is equally very effective for your life, that's the statement wealth. So when you go to bed at night, you say wealth, 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 and you fall asleep. Now, those two statements will have dramatic effects. When you say it's wonderful, you will start to see wonderful things happening in your life. When you say the statement wealth, then you will start to see wealth appear in your life. That is the meaning of those two things. But again, I emphasize the point, you must do this diligently. It is not a one-off. It's not like, well, I'll do it for a week and I'll see the result, and if I don't see the result, I'll stop doing it. You must put effort into these things. And effort is not hard. Just as you can spend 3 hours, on Game Boy or Xbox, you can spend a little time on bettering your life, and it might mean 15 minutes, it might mean 30 minutes of your life in your day, in your 24-hour day. That's doable. You can do that. You can easily do that, and that will change your life. And what changes your life? Why wouldn't you do it? You would do it if it changed your life. So it's very important to understand that don't take these things lightly. They are serious matters, and you need to take them seriously. Now, I want you to continue with what I taught you last week. I wanted to give you another method, but I do not want to overwhelm you yet. I don't want to overwhelm you with different techniques. What is working is great. Continue with what is working. And any new techniques that we discuss, they will come forth in the near future. So I will leave it at that. I want to thank you for listening to me. I want to thank those of my students that take me seriously, that are sending their tithes, their offerings, that are doing the right thing, that are in compliance with the Torah, and then you will receive a blessing. A blessing is already upon you. It cannot escape you. You will receive it in this world. And your children will receive it, and your children's children will receive it. So don't think for a second that you won't receive it. Now also I want to remind you that before Purim, now Purim is going to be very soon, it's usually during February and March months before Passover, there is another thing that you have to do. It's called the half shekel. The half shekel is an offering that you make to the Kohen in the gate. And the half shekel, I want to tell you, is not hard. It's only $6.18. That's all it is, $6.18. Right? Let's call it $6. $6 is half a shekel's value today. So you, as a person, as an adult, if you're one adult, it's $6. If you're two adults, it's $12. If you're three adults, it's $18. That offering you must send in this month before the end of February. Send that offering in. Excuse me. There is the Abrahamic-Faith.info website. There is the Forever-Israel.com website. You can send it through the Donate Now through PayPal. You can send it directly to my PayPal ID, which is Shimon63@yahoo.com, SHIMOUN60@yahoo.com. As I told you, you count the number of members of your family that are above 20. You've got to be 20 and above. And it only applies to those members. And it's going to be $6 only. And that is called the half a shekel offering. It is given to the Kohanim in the gate. And you all need to consider that. And make sure that if you have no other way to get it, you can send it to Rabbi Kefa, to Rabbi Lamont Clopas, LamontClophus. The address to send it to is on the websites at Abrahamic-Faith.info, at Forever-Israel.com. The addresses are there, San Antonio addresses. So make sure that you're up to date with your tithes, with your tzedakah, and with your half a shekel offering. It's a commandment, by the way. And don't think to yourself, oh, there's no temple and we don't have to do this, because there was no temple during Abraham's time either. But still, these things were done. There was no temple during Jacob's time, but these things were done. So think carefully of how you evaluate your life and think where you want to go. You want to go from blessing to blessing. And you don't want to go from blessing to a non-blessing. And as I told you last time, that make sure that as part of your daily reading, and if you read a chapter of Torah every day, it's great. It's wonderful if you do. And if for some reason you don't seem to have the time, that you can't read the portion of Torah for whatever reason, because you're busy, you're working, you have a life with your job, children, etc., a lot of time is taken out in those things. If that is the case, then I did advise you to open up the book of Deuteronomy, and at the very least, you should read the blessings that God has given upon us. And those blessings start with the Deuteronomy chapter 1, which says, "And it shall come to pass, if you shall listen carefully to the voice of Yahweh, your power, to guard and to do all His commandments, which I command you this day, that Yahweh your power will elevate you high above all nations of the world." Those 1 to 13 passages, those passages that talk about your blessing, you must read those daily. Make a practice of reading those daily. The very least, if you can't do anything else, the very least you can read those. If you don't have a Forever-Israel Siddur, go buy it from Amazon. It's readily available. And if you don't have the Siddur, of course you can order it. It's not that expensive, it's inexpensive. And you can, in the meantime, you can read these verses from the book of Deuteronomy. So I leave you with that. Have a great Shabbat, great week. I will try to converse with you the next Shabbat, and we will talk about, other matters of our life, matters of our personality, matters that affect us, matters that bless us. So with that, I wish you well. I wish you all a great and happy week. Keep warm, because it's very cold in America, especially with all the snow going on and the lights out. Keep warm, keep safe, look after yourselves. I love you all, and keep blessed in the Master, Yahweh, and may He be with you wherever you go. Hashem Yahweh. Take care. Shabbat Shalom. Shalom Shalom. And over.
Todah Rabbi Kohen, if I could be heard, can I get a 1? Todah Rabbi Kohen for your lecture and your instruction. Going forward, we'll keep it moving forward. One thing HaKohen said that I would like to reiterate. I do a lot of, I love to hear about success stories, and I read a lot about different success stories. And there's this one investor, and he invests in the stock market, and he has just climaxed the $1 million mark as far as being a trader. Now, what he did was his methodology was that he only practiced one strategy. Get this, Eddies. He only practiced one strategy. He only studied one strategy, and he stuck to that same strategy of trading. And that is how he climaxed and reached his $1,000 mark. I'm sorry, $1 million mark. It was only one strategy he was doing. He only does one strategy. There's a lot of things out there. And HaKohen said something that really stuck with me as well in his lecture. He said this, if you find that something is working for you, continue to do it. I know HaKohen has given us a lot of instruction, a lot of different tools to add, a lot of different arrows to put in our quiver. But if all of you in this room listening via YouTube or listening via Facebook, whatever social media outlet you use out there, if you have found one strategy that's effective for you, if you have found one technique that's effective for you, why change it? I mean, you've heard the old adage that, if the wheel isn't broke, don't change it or something like that. The same way with this. Whatever is working best for you, if you find success in it, why change it? Why deviate from it? Just keep, rinse and repeat, and do the same thing over and over and over again. If it gives you joy, peace, love, and happiness at the end of the day, why do you want to change it? I see that a lot in relationships when it comes to, man and a woman. They're happy for a minute, they're happy for a while, then all of a sudden they're unhappy and they want to change. And then they realize when they do change and get a divorce or whatever, move on to the next person, that they realize that the grass wasn't greener on the other side. How many of you have dealt with that experience in some way, shape, form, or fashion? When you thought that that change was best for you, but then you realize, my goodness, My worst mistake was leaving the other one, or that was my biggest mistake. I should have stayed with what I had, because what I had, I was truly blessed with it, but I couldn't see it for the trees. You know what I mean? So we have to guard ourselves against that as well. We really do. We really do. And I would encourage all of you. I know we have a lot of weapons. He named a few of these techniques that you can use as children of Israel. It's going to benefit your lives, and truly learn how to meditate and meditate the way our forefathers did it. What they call prayer today, the way our forefathers did. And really connect with source. Really connect with energy. With energies. With source. With the creator of all things. With being. And I truly believe that's vital and important today. So if you find one method, like the Gimel method, I'm killing it with the Gimel method in a good way. Chanting the Gimel chant, my goodness, that one is powerful. I'm on the Dalet chant right now. But in my notes, I do have recorded that the Gimel method has been my best method ever thus far. That I've seen the most, I've gotten the most out of it. I don't know about you guys, but Eddie says Gimel for him too. But I'm noticing that the Gimel method, like the Gimel chant, I tell you what, the Gimel technique is highly powerful for me. So guess what? Rabbi Kefa is going to keep doing that. Why do I need to change it? I know I have a lot of other weapons out there, and I have a lot of other tools, but why do I want to change that? I don't want to change that. I shouldn't want to change that, because if it's working for me, why should I want to change it? Consider that going forward. Consider that, Mishpah. I know Hakohen gives us a lot of tools. A lot, and you may be tempted to want to go and try and use some of those for a minute, but I would encourage you, Mishpah. If you have something that's working for you, continue to work it. Maybe in your side space, in your side periods, if you want to, branch out and do some of the other things, and then that's fine. But if you have found, a technique that's working for you, and at the end of the day, give you peace, love, joy, and happiness. Just like I told you with this student, this guy, same technique. I don't know how long it took him. I didn't read the whole article, but he reached his $1 million mark in trading, and he only did one technique. The same technique over and over and over and over and over again. So what does that tell us? That tells us that if it's working for you, or like Yael 110 says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You see? Keep plowing away at it. 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 And that is truly the message with a mission behind it. And that manifests for you. And if you find that that's working for you, continue to do it. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. Over and over and over again. That's so very important. So today we're going to have a little tent talk today. Or temple talk, call it. Temple talk, tent talk, whatever you want to call it. But it's of my opinion that this particular talk is very, very important to have. Because what has happened is, and I'll ask you this question. I have this question for you. I'll ask you this question. Does a building have use? When you look at all the buildings that are in your city, in your town, when you look at these beautiful buildings, I'm pretty sure some of you live in some places, you see some beautiful buildings throughout your day. Throughout your day, you look at a building and say, man, that building is beautiful. You'll see one on TV and say, man, this is just a beautiful building. The architecture is like awesome. How many of you have ever done that? And you actually just look at buildings, you're like, that is amazing. I'm looking at some stuff on the National Geographic Channel, and you see some things, and you're like, you see some buildings, and you see bridges, and you're like, wow. The technology that we have. Man, is truly using his mind to do and create and manifest marvelous things. I would encourage you to do this, because there's some great buildings around. Some of them are kind of like they're out of place, but they're there, and they they really don't blend in with the architecture, but it's there, and it's beautiful because it's different. You know what I mean? And so you look at buildings and you're like, wow, man, that building's like totally awesome. That's a beautiful building. But at the end of the day, when I ask you this question, does a building have use? Think about what I'm saying here. Does a building have use? If it's just the building, besides being an eye-catcher, does it really have use? Think about that. And I would encourage you to look back on our history as the people of the books. And not only look back at our history as the people of the books, but look at our current history as well. And I'll ask you this question as well. does Israel have a standing building today? Now, I know if you go to Israel, I don't know how many of you in this room have ever been to Israel and you actually prayed on what they call the Wailing Wall. Anybody in this room has ever done that? Put up a capital I for Israel. If anybody's ever done that. And you actually put a prayer inside the, little paper, and you put it inside what they call the Wailing Wall, which is actually Lion King, Lion Princess. I guess you all know now that that's actually a Roman garrison, the ruins of a Roman garrison. That's not actually, the temple site, right? Because I actually went to the temple site. But anyway, I went to Israel, but I never, it wasn't in the cards for me to go see the Wailing Wall. But again, you look at that brick. Does it have any significance? That the ruins of the wall. Does that have any significance? Does it hold any power to it? I mean, it's just brick and mortar, and our ancestors, God bless them. Our ancestors, we made bricks. I mean, that was our occupation for a while. Our forefathers, they actually made bricks. That's what they did. They were brick makers. They would actually make the bricks that erected a lot of the architecture that Egypt had erected at that time. So you begin to look at this and you say, okay, today we have no standing temple, or what they call a temple, or what they call a synagogue, or whatever. If you ever notice, and I'm beginning to see this as well, we'll start projects, related to putting up like a building, and if you notice, the majority of them don't succeed. Hakohen, he kind of gave you a little bit of the history of experiences that we went through, around the world, trying to establish, places of what they call worship, or just a place where to put God's name, Baruch Hashem, or source's name. But if you notice that, and I'm talking to I can talk to my UK people, and I can talk to our people here in North America. Here in North America, do we have a standing temple or synagogue? Anybody here in North America? Family. When you look at Forever Israel, is in North America, is there a standing temple right now? Here in North America? In the UK, my UK people, is there a standing temple right now for Forever Israel, being led by the Kohen in the gate? I mean, think about this for a minute now. We really have to think hard. This is why we have to do this tent talk, and we have to do this temple talk. It's very important that we have this talk. It's very, very important that we have this talk. When you look in the UK, under the auspices, under the covering of Hakohen, is there a fully operational synagogue, temple of today, where we have, God's name, and we go and we pay homage? Is it? Consider these things. Now, on the importance factor and relevance factor, how important really is that building? Think about this for a minute. This is why I asked you all family the question earlier. Does a building have use? Let me ask yourself the question. Does a building have use? You know what answer I came up with? This is the answer I came up with. My answer was really no, the building itself doesn't have use, but if the man uses the building for his benefit, it can have much use, right? Always, if ever says, for me, I love my mattress. For me, no, I love my mattress, okay? Here you go. I love my mattress too. It has much use. Why? It's because that mattress, always and forever, is used to do what? It's to help you facilitate rest and relaxation. It has use. It has value to it. But when you just look at a building, right? But when you just look at a building and you say, okay, well, what use does this building have for me? Is that building empowered with something that I need? Or does me as the individual, can I go into that building and use that in building to empower myself? You see? Or can I use that building to help make myself better? You see what I mean? Let me give you an example. Walmart is a building, right? Say like, I don't know if any of you aspire or desire, you affirm to want to own any kind of business like a Walmart. But say like you own the Walmart. Does that building have use if it's a Walmart? Oh, absolutely. Why? It's because people go in and out of it and they circulate their monies, and in return they get foods and the other necessary materials that they need to help benefit their life and to assist them in any kind of way, shape, form, or fashion. So that building does have great use, right? How many of you would affirm that Walmart has great use and is of great value, right? Isn't Walmart of great value? I use Walmart. Yeah, I love Walmart. It's of great value. I love Target. These places are great. They benefit me. I go in there and I get benefited from these places. They assist me, right? But we have to guard and be careful of this thing right here. To where, and I'm guilty of it as well, because that's the condition I've been given, is that I have to go to a place to find God. And you see, one of the biggest stumbling blocks out there is that you have to run to a building to find God. If there's no building, then there's no way you can find God. So we have to erect a building to be able to find God. To be able to find peace, love, joy, and happiness, we have to go outside of our homes to be able to do that, when you really don't have to do that. That's one of the biggest lies out there. This is one of the biggest teachings that have been mistaught that's out there, is that you have to run to a building, and the bigger the building, the better. That's not the case. That's truly not the case, because let's look at what our Torah tells us here. Let's open this up in Exodus chapter 25, verses 1. Then Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to all the children of Israel, that they bring me an offering. From everyone who gives it willingly with his heart, you shall take my offering. Now, Hakoy went in. I'm not going to read all of it, but I want to go to the grits and the greens of it. Look at Exodus chapter 25, verses 8. Again, I read from the Abrahamic-Faith Bible, or the Hidden Truth We Break Scrolls. You don't have this Bible, please get it. Add it to your studies. It will truly help you, give you great assistance. Exodus 25 and 8. Let them make me a holy place. Let them make me a holy place, that I may dwell among them. I'm going to stop right there. My goodness. Now, we go back up to Exodus 25 and 1. The whole purpose of the offering, I'm going to need y'all to get personal with me and get interactive with me this day. The whole purpose of, the commandment given to Moshe, to Moses, to Musa, for an offering was what? Anybody tell me? What was the whole purpose of this offering that was coming about? In all kind of forms, in all kind of forms of energy. It wasn't just in the form of monies, but it was in the form of talents and abilities as well. What can you bring to the table? What is your expertise? And then take that and use that to assist in this particular offering. So what was this offering going to be used for? Well, did the master, the creator of the heavens and the universes, did he need a new Lexus? Did he need a new Mercedes-Benz? Did he need did he need a new Rolls-Royce? I mean, what was this? Was he like Creflo and he said, man, it's time for me to get another jet. I need a jet so I can commute and go see all of you, great people all over the world and bless you with holy water. What was the purpose of this offering? That, was a free will offering. What was the purpose of it, Mishpachah? Well, the purpose of it was for what? Was for what? Was that, we look at verse 8 again, was for a holy place, that I might dwell among them. Now, all of you have seen this, right? A particular place to meet us. Now, I want you all to look at verse 8 again, Ya'el, woman of the tent, of Exodus 25. And let them make me a holy place, that I may dwell among them. Note what the creator of all things said. Note what the God of Israel was talking about here. He said that I may dwell among them. Not that I may dwell in the place. How many of you with me? We have teachings on this before. Not that he can dwell in the place, but that he can dwell among them. Who is them? The children of Israel. How many of you with me? So it's not about the holy. It's not about the holy place. The place is just a place. You know why I can say that and all with all vigor is because we don't have a standing place today. I saw the temple ruins, and believe me, it's plowed over, and it is just the most beautiful field you want to see. With ruins, it's just these rocks and sand, and ruins of walls that used to be there that are no longer there. And I'm telling you, just as quiet as you want to be down there in Tel Arad. If you ever go back to Israel, go down there to Tel Arad and see the true temple site. I'm telling you, it truly is in ruins. And it's plowed over. And there's these farm fields all the way around it. And then you look in one direction and you see the tomb of the kings, where they have those big tombs that talked about in what they call the New Testament, that the stone was rolled away. They actually put there's these big old holes that they would roll these stones over to close the tomb. I saw that. I was like, wow. And I remember him telling me, yep, this is the temple of the kings. These are the temples of the kings. These are the graves of the kings. I was like, wow. And there were many of them. These big old holes dug in the earth. And they were dug at such an angle, and they were like kind of angled down to where the stone could roll down with gravity. So I was like, man, it'd be kind of difficult to kind of roll the stone away. It'd take more than one person, that's for sure. Because you're going against gravity. Because you're kind of going uphill. Because it was angled a certain way. I was like, wow, this is amazing. But the whole place was just like peaceful. And you could feel the wind just blow between, at the time I had locks. You could feel the wind just blow between my locks. I was like, wow, this is amazing, man. It's just such a humbling experience, I tell you. It was such a humbling experience. And I was like, man. And I sat there and I cried like a baby because I was like, wow, we don't have a standing temple today. And that kind of saddened me at that moment. And then Hakohen did the prayer, and it was just a moment. It was an emotional moment. It was a feeling moment, truly. It was a moment of feeling and emotions. Because I understood the ramifications of what we were doing. We were doing this for you and I today. And we did that many years ago. But we were doing that for you and I today, and for my son Makshan going forward, and his children's children as well. The repentance prayer that Hakohen did, it was amazing. But I'm looking, and there's no temple. And I remember reading about the temple in our Torah, and reading about it, and buying books on, how the temple looked and where everything was. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And the symbolism of everything, and why everything was where it was. And I'm like, well, but we don't have a standing temple today, Oliver. Vive la France. But we don't have a standing temple today. But I'm like, wait a minute. Let me correct myself. We do have standing temples. You and I are standing temples today. Because I understand it's not in a building. And that's what the creator of all things was trying to tell us. And trying to give us that detour so we don't fall into that trap of, oh, you have to run to a building. Well, if that's the case, why we don't have a standing temple today? Why don't we have a temple here in San Antonio? Why don't we have a temple here in the United States of America that we can go to? And I won't use the word temple, Mishpachah, because you know why? I looked up in my research. I looked up the word temple. And there is no mention in the King James Version of the Bible. There is no mention of the word temple. So why do I keep saying temple? Conditioning, right? Because you ever notice when people ask, well, what do you believe in? Or they'll come up to you and they say, how many of you have had this experience? They come up to you and say, well, brother, where do you worship? How many they come in? They say, oh, or they'll say, hey, where do you go to church? How many? What church do you go to? How many of you ever had that experience before? They say, oh yeah, brother, where do you worship? Oh, praise God, brother. Where do you worship? Where do you go and what church you go to? They come up to you. They want to know. Okay, where do you go to get your fix? Well, I don't need to go to a building. You see, that's the conditioning that we've been given, that we have to go somewhere to find God when we don't. In Israel, we've been given a great lesson on this from the God of Israel. They said, look, man, why isn't Hakohen promoting all kind of temple buildings being built all over the place in each one of the cities where we're at? You ever notice that? He's not pushing that, is he? because he understands that that's not important. Because he as a Kohen doesn't even have a standing temple to go to. So in this time that we're in, and remember, we're in the dispersion. We're in the exile. Study our ancestors. Look at Abraham. Abraham was on the move, right? We're in the exile. Now, there is no word temple mentioned in the Torah. But guess what word is mentioned several times in the Torah? You want to know what that word is? That word is tent. T-E-N-T. But the word tent is in 53 verses in the Torah. The word tent. How many of you are with me? The word tent is mentioned 53 times in the Torah. Now we're gonna do a little. We're gonna go do a little math today. Stay with me, Mishpachah, for you mathematicians in the room, for you Einsteins in here. 53. When you take 5 and you add it to 3, what does that equal to, Mishpachah? When you take 5 and you add it to 3, what does that equal to? Anybody tell me? All you mathematicians in the room? Yeah, there you go. There's my Einsteins right there. Mathematicians. It equals the number 8. Anybody know about the number 8 in numerology? Any of you students of numerology? That's a great study, by the way. Study the numbers, study the stars, study the universes, study the planets. We're all connected. Anybody know about the number 8? Can anybody tell me? Let me just give you a hint. If you take that number 8 and turn it on the side, there you go, Oliver. New beginnings. But if you take that number 8 and turn it on the side, what do you get? There you go, forever. Always and forever. That's a beautiful song, by the way. You get the number for infinity. It's for infinity. Now, let's connect the dots. It's time for us to connect the dots, Mishpachah. We're going to get deep. Now we're going to go into our Hebrew language. Our beautiful Hebrew language. That's powerful. This Hebrew language is ancient. And the world was created. Universes were brought forth off of this beautiful 22 characters. These 22 characters that when you pronounce them, you know, they're very, very powerful. How many of you have noted the benefit from pronouncing the Hebrew characters? Anybody? Put up a capital B. You say, yeah, Rabbi, I've been pronouncing Aleph is powerful. I've been pronouncing the Dalet, super powerful, and I've been pronouncing them. Tada for your responses, by the way. And tada for your affirmation. You're affirming what's real. You're affirming your feel, what you believe in and what you do feel. And that's important. You know, I can tell you, it was feelings that ran me out of Hagee's church here in San Antonio. Because I just didn't feel right. You've heard my testimony about that many times. I told you, I just didn't feel right going to Sunday church. I didn't feel right. Thus, I didn't have a belief in what Hagee was giving out. I didn't want none of it. So, back to that tent. And infinity. I mean, in the Torah, it's mentioned 53 times in the King James Version. 53 verses with the word tent in it. Tent has relevance, but tabernacle does as well because that's mentioned as well, but not as frequent. But that temple, not mentioned. Synagogue doesn't exist, non-existent in the Torah. You see, this is what we have to be mindful of, Mishpachah. We have to guard ourselves against the newness. Remember, we're told in Jeremiah 6:16 is to inquire and make inquiry of the forever ways, the ancient ways. Not just modern stuff. Oh, yeah, well, what synagogue did you go to? I told you the story of what happened when I went to the synagogue, our local synagogue here in San Antonio. I tell you, they kind of ran me off. But guess what? There's going to be a new neighbor in their block. They all live in this area called Stone Oak. And guess what? Rabbi Kefa's getting ready to buy a house right in the area where all the Jews live. Because I am the Jew. They call me Lamont the Jew. I am the Jew. And I'm gonna get the biggest house right there in their neighborhood. And they're gonna have to deal with me. They can't say I don't belong, because I do belong. I'm here. I belong. I'm part of the family. Whether you see it or not. And I'm not doing it out of spite. I'm just doing it because that's what I desire. but they wouldn't allow me in their synagogue, Mishpachah. They said, no, you don't belong in this synagogue. And they were doing me a favor. Yes, it did hurt my feelings at the time. Got my feelings hurt. I was like, wait a minute. I'm Israel. And you telling me I can't go into the synagogue and pay homage to Hashem and give thanks to Hashem? But it's all coming together now as I begin to peel away at the layers, and I begin to realize that the synagogue wasn't for me. That's not for me. I'm Israel. I am the tent. And why is tent so relevant? Anybody know what you can do with a tent? Anybody? What can you do with a tent? When you have a tent, what can you do with it? You can pack that baby up. And I tell you, with this weather, we've been doing some camping down here in San Antonio. With the way the weather is, I tell you, I feel like I'm just camping, but I'm just camping at home. We couldn't leave the house with all the snow that we had down here and stuff like that, and power outage. My power went out, for about 24 hours. We didn't have power, and it was beautiful. I tell you, we was loving it. We had our propane, Oliver. We was all set, man. Propane, threw some blankets on. No big deal. Nakshan got to see snow, play in the snow, made a lot of videos, all this, that, and the other third. It's beautiful, man. A beautiful time. I enjoyed that time. A week. I had a week of that. It's just beautiful. Now the sun is back out. We went to the park yesterday. I tell you, it's wonderful. It is indeed wonderful. So everything's back to normal now. Power's back on. Sun's out. Took Nakshan to the park yesterday. Beautiful. Beautiful time. Air is super clean. Sky is super blue down here in San Antonio. Yael, woman of tent said, a movable shelter. Mobile. You can take a tent up and pack it up and move it wherever you want to go. Does that kind of remind you of something? How about you and I? We can just pack up and go wherever we want to go. Thus, the powers of Israel is with us wherever we go. So, Moses is told to make this particular kind of tent. Not a temple. Why not nothing made out of stone that, has a foundation to it? Why, Mishpachah? Because we're always on the move. Can you move stone? You can move it. Ask the Egyptians. Stone can be moved, but it's quite difficult, and it takes a long time. Israel, we're mobile. We're mobile, my family. We're mobile. We got to be able to move. You see, that's the flexibility of the Torah. It's so flexible and pliable. We got to be able to stretch out, right? We got to be able to expand. You see, we like baby's kids, Eddies. We multiply. You see? I love how we don't die, we multiply. You see, so, we multiply. We got to be able to expand out, stretch out our wings, and soar like the eagles that we are. How many of you in this room are an eagle? Put up a capital E. Affirm it. Soar like the eagles that you are. Because you are, Mishpachah. Reminds me of that song. Fly like an eagle. Who sing that song? I think Seal. Good little song. Fly like an eagle. I'm going to fly, baby. I am flying. And I fly high. Eagles have good sight, too. They can see very well from that high altitude. You see where you're going. You're not just flying blind, Oliver. No. We know where we're going, right, Oliver? We know exactly where we're going, how we're going to get there, what's going to happen when we get there. It's all laid out for us. Why? It's because we call it in just the way we want it, the way we desire it. But we have to be mobile. We can't be stuck in somebody's building somewhere, waiting for Hashem to show up. Hashem is with us wherever we go. We're tents, Mishpachah. Oh, Eddie says, I like R. Kelly's I Believe I Can Fly. Indeed. Believe you can fly, feel that you can fly, and fly. That's real. Steve Miller Band, that's it. Yeah, woman of the tent. But see, this is what we have to guard ourselves against. Having to run to somebody's building. I've been conditioned with that as a little child. That we have to go, you want to find God, we got to go to this building. And I can remember as an altar boy in the Catholic Church, I was like, man, they got all this stuff in here, but I'm not feeling no God. You got Jesus on the cross. We got Jesus in the sky. These statues. We got all these angels around. But every time I went to that church, I wasn't feeling any different. I didn't feel like God was there. I just thought this was a building with some nice things in it. You know, nice statues and nice little artwork and stuff like that. Nice building in itself, just a nice building. But just like Akoin told you, religion was established to socialize and to gather, you see. But I'd rather gather with my family than gather with a congregation of just folks that's just going to sit there, and the gathering is all about talking about gossiping and this, and it's almost, and I saw right through it. I was like, wait a minute, the Joneses, they come to church and they all loving one another, but I live across the street from them. During the week, man, they fighting. I'm hearing dishpans and dishes break and pots being thrown. What's going on? But here on Sunday church, oh man, they're holier than thou. I'm like, wait a minute. But then during the week, it's like I'm seeing something different from my neighbors. But the Joneses get in church, I was like, man, it's like they put on a show for church. But then, in reality, because then every time the pastor, at the end, the pastor say, hey, anybody we need to come up and need prayer. Anybody we can pray and lay hands on you. I was like, man, the Joneses should be going up there, man, because they fighting all during the week. They fight, and they take it out, you know how this kind of neighbors, where they take it out into the street. They're in the yard yelling at each other. You're like, man, you try to ignore it, but it's all in your face. It's right there. And they, business all out in the street. You gonna die. I'm like, man, y'all need to take that in the house. I don't need to know what's going on in your house. That's y'all business. But then when pastor on Sunday church, asks for prayer, you can't find the Joneses up there trying to get prayer and get help. So I'm like, what is this church all about? What is it for? I realize it's a social gathering. All religion is a social gathering for people to come together. To come together and affiliate and socialize. They have Bible study night, and you can go and you have a cook night where you have a night where you go out and do all these different things and have these events, and you go out and you pass out tracts on Friday night, and you go out and do these great things for God. No, you're doing great things for the church because the church wants you to do them things. God is nowhere in none of that stuff. Because God, man, I remember I used to go out on them tracts, pass out tracts on Friday night. I used to go where all the teenagers would hang out on the weekend, and I'm giving out these tracts, and they're all laughing at me and all. But I'm thinking I'm just doing the righteous thing, and I'm forcing Jesus on them. Here, take this, you're going to hell. Take this. Take this, you're going to hell. Take this, you're going to hell. You drinking that booze, you're going to hell. And you know what? They had some smart comebacks, really smart. This is like, wait a minute, sir. You telling me don't drink this beer, but didn't your Jesus, didn't he do a miracle where he changed water into wine? I couldn't say nothing against that. I was like, that same Jesus that I'm pressuring on him, Oliver, that same Jesus I'm pushing on him, tell him Jesus gonna send him to hell, tell him don't drink that bad, nasty, alcoholic devil juice. You know what I mean? That same Jesus, Oliver. And they sit there and tell me, I had no comeback. Because sure enough, I read that in the New Testament. Yeah, Jesus went to that wedding. Matter of fact, that was his first miracle, wasn't it? He went there and he changed water into wine for a wedding. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. I'm like, wait a minute. Y'all line person say something. Some say it was grape juice. That's a good one. That is a good one. That is a good one. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, what do I do? I don't have no comeback for that. I'm telling all these people that they're going to hell. And I'm telling them, hey, man, you need to get Jesus. They're like, yeah, I can get Jesus, and he can come drink with us too because he like wine. I'm like, man, I didn't have no comeback for that. I was like, wait a minute. What am I doing here on Friday night? You see what I mean? So you find that you're doing things for the church. You're not doing anything for God. You're doing things for church, or you're developing, I used to go to some of these church functions just for the girls, to be honest with you. Them church girls. Hey, man, you want to go do this? Yeah, baby, I'll go with you. Let's go over here and do this. Just to hook up with some church girls. Y'all, you men know what I'm talking about. You can just hook up with some of the church girls. Oh, yeah. Oliver laughing. Oh, yeah, I'll go to that function with you, baby. Come on, let's go to this function. do your little church thing. You know what I mean? You know, because I had no other feeling. There was nothing I was getting from God. It was all about functions. So Hakohen is absolutely right when he talks about, these are just social gatherings where you can come together and socialize with other people of your likeness, people who have your same thought process and think the way you do. But that's all that it was. So the building never did anything for me in my relationship with God. Now we got to get back to the tent, because this is all about tent talk. Not tent talk, but tent talk. Because we see that the Torah has 53 verses in the King James Version using the word tent. Temple's not mentioned. It may come as a surprise to some of you listening via Facebook or listening on YouTube, but the word tent is totally the word temple is totally not mentioned. Synagogue's not there. So my whole thought process is to go back to those forever ways mentioned in Jeremiah chapter 6 verse 16. The ancient ways, the forever ways of our forefathers. What did Abraham do? Abraham at certain points in his journey, as he was mobile, as all of you said, the family talked about being mobile, being able to pack up and move around. And that's how all of you need to be today, is be mobile, be able to pack up and move around. Israel, hey family, I don't know if you noticed this about us, but we're so, what's the best word that I can use that you can understand this? Is that we're so adaptable. Anybody, you see that within the family? You see that you're just so adaptable. I mean, snow came down here in San Antonio, which is a miracle. But Israel down here just adapted. We adapted and we overcame. We can adapt to any kind of situation. Plague, no problem. We adapt to that and we keep moving, right? And we move from strength to strength to strength. We're so adaptable. There's not any kind of situation or experience that you cannot put us into where we can't adapt and overcome and conquer. Because we realize that we've been given dominion over this earth. How are we going to dominate? If we're going to dominate, because that's the question. You can be dominant or you can be dominated. You see, which one do you want to be? I went through periods of my life not understanding that. I had understood that, man, I just got to keep seeking for God outside of myself. This is where we get back to the tent talk. And we're going to get back into our Hebrew for a minute. I'm not going to go deep into the Hebrew, but I want you to understand this about our Hebrew language. I'll start this by Hakohen. Me, I'm not one to want to learn Hebrew. Today I don't. I don't want to learn Hebrew. How many of you in this room want to learn Hebrew? I don't want to learn Hebrew. I don't want to speak Hebrew. But you know what I do want to understand? I do want to understand the ancient Hebrew hieroglyphs that all of you have in your Abrahamic-Faith Bible. You look at that, I do want to understand that. That's what I study. I'm a student of that. But being able to talk Hebrew, because this Hebrew talk today is not the way our forefathers were talking. But when you look at the ancient pictorial graphic, how many of you have looked at those pictorial? I tell you, if you don't have this, you need to take these pictures. I have two big old poster-sized, gigantic poster-sized pictures of our Hebrew pictorial graphic language, and I had them made at like Office Max. A friend of mine works there, so got favor there. I had them made into posters, and I put them in the north of my home in my office. I got them sitting right here. I'm looking at them right now. I got them sitting there. So every time Nakshan comes in my office with me, he looks at them and he sees them. Our ancient pictorial, and the ones right out of our Abrahamic-Faith Bible that you see in the back there. I just had them blown up. I had them blown up in the poster size, and I have two of them. And they're sitting there like the Ten Commandments, two tablets, Baruch Hashem, on the wall, facing towards the north. So I can look at them. I do study these because I want to tell you something about our Hebrew language. The first word is is the substance. The first character in a Hebrew word has all the substance to it. The other words, they just complementary and kind of they kind of give more of a description to that first word, the first character. You know what I'm talking about? Everybody with me? So it's the first character in a Hebrew word that holds all the weight. Now, all the other characters in that Hebrew word are complementary. They just complement and kind of expound upon that first character. Everybody understood that? You with me? Put up ones. You're like, yeah, Rabbi Kefa, I see what you're talking about. So it's that first character in any Hebrew word. Any Hebrew word you look at, concern yourself with that first character because that has all the weight. That's what the intended meaning is. And then all the other words to offer your responses. Then all those other words, all the other characters in that word, they just kind of complement it and kind of give more description to what that first character is. So, I want us to look at the word tent. Now, in the Hebrew, the word tent is very interesting. And some of you are not going to find it too shocking, but you'll find it very, very interesting. That the word tent is ahel. That's the Hebrew word for the word tent. And guess what the first character in ahel is for the word tent? That we see in 53 verses of the King James Version of the Bible. In the Torah, the word tent, ahel. The first character, Hebrew character, in ahel is what? Is the aleph. Wow. Now, anybody that knows anything about our ancient Hebrew pictoriographic language, what is the depiction of the pictoriographic feature or character for the letter aleph? Anybody tell me? Anybody tell me? Lion Princess says, looks like a man running. Thank you for that. Tada Rabah for that, Lion Princess. A man. Now, oh, y'all get it now. You see where we going with this? How many of y'all with me so far? Now, so when we see tent, and then now we see this man, not tent like, okay, this building. You see a man. A man. So if the powers of Israel is saying, hey, make me a tent so I can dwell among the people. Not dwell in the tent, but dwell among the people. You see, because not only did the God of Israel have a tent, guess what? Every family in Israel also had a tent as well, right? They had tents. They pitched their tents as well, and they were just as mobile as the tent of meetings was. Correct? Correct me if I'm wrong. But what we have, very interesting, right? But think about this for a minute. When we talk about a tent, not being a inanimate object, but being an animate object, a man, and it looks like he's running, he's mobile, and he's moving. What does that tell us about? And you see, now you're beginning to wonder why. You understand why we don't have a moving, what they call temple today, synagogue, temple, blah, blah, blah. There you go. Always and forever. We are the tent. We are. And so when we're told that you are gods, do you get it? You are gods. You are. You are. You're mobile. I'm telling you, isn't that beautiful? You see the way the Hebrew does this always and forever? This is what the Hebrew does. It just opens up and you begin to see the world as it really should be. So we shouldn't. You wonder why Hakohen is not saying, okay, Kefa, you need to establish a temple in San Antonio and Rabbi Zechariah, you need to establish a temple in Dallas. Do you see why we have to do that? Because we are the temple. We are the synagogue. Do you see why the man here in San Antonio said to say, man, you're not welcome in this synagogue? I get it. And if I see that man again, that Jewish man, I'm going to say, hey, thank you very much. I'm going to shake his hand and say, Tada Rabah. Thank you very much. I get it. You see, we don't want to be hoodwinked and bamboozled into running after these buildings. For what? They're empty. They have no use. The only thing that gives those buildings use is man. Man will go in there and then use the building. Like we talked about the Walmart, right? That's a great building. The Target, another great building. Saks Fifth Avenue, another great building. You know? Ross, my wife loves some Ross, another great building. Hey Eddie's, this one is for you. Big Lots, because they get ready to blow up. Check that one out on your charts this week. They had a great fallback. Big Lots. Another great one. Yeah, add that to your list. Big Lots is get ready to blow up. I tell you. Especially, lady, because I was in there circulating monies yesterday. Because our local grocery store was all packed out. Everybody's running to the local grocery store. So I was like, wait a minute, honey. Let's go into the Big Lots. Big Lots had everything that my local grocery store, my HEB, didn't have. I'm like, man, why ain't everybody running them Big Lots? They had everything. And I was like, wait a minute. You see, they don't think outside of the box. No, I'm telling you, we're so, we're so flexible, and we just know how to operate in any kind of situation that's going to be beneficial to our families. And I have to thank my wife for that, because she wanted to go in there and get some pillows. I was like, why are we going to the Big Lots? Sure enough, when I got in the Big Lots, that was an eye-opener for me. Big Lots has groceries in there. Big Lots has water in there. When there's like water up the yin-yang, and you go to the local grocery store, and there's people beating each other because there's queues of lines. People, fussing and fighting over water because they're waiting to get water from the local grocery store. But the Big Lots, you can just walk in, and they got cases of water. Cases! I'm like, man, my goodness. But some people, you see, they conditioned, so they got to run. Oh, I have to run to that local grocery store. I have to run to the HEB. I have to run to the Costco's or whatever. That's why I have to go. No, you don't. You got to think outside of the box. Oh, yeah, don't talk about the Family Dollar stores. I'm telling you, that stock has just been booming. Family Dollar? Dollar Tree? Oh, my goodness. Making a killing. Because now people are realizing, I can think outside of the box. I don't have to go to the Walmart. I don't have to go to the Costco's. I don't have to go to the Sam's. I can go over here to the Big Lots. And now these are like Big Lots and all these other stores. They're starting to realize, we need to start to incorporate more of the, perishable goods so we can draw more traffic in. And that's just what they're doing, and it's been a success. Thus the stock is just like blowing up. BIG. Look that stock symbol up. I'm telling you, they've been blowing up. The notorious BIG. I'm telling you, amazing. So you have to look at all these things and say, wow. It's the building. See, me going into that building has facilitated me. I'd rather run into a Big Lots than any church any day, because I get something out of Big Lots, right? My wife got her pillows. She's totally happy. You see? Now Sean got to play with the toys and all this, that, and the other. I bought some candles. I tell you, it was beneficial to me. Because what we need to understand when we look at our Hebrew Mishpah, this tent talk, baby, it's all about tent talk here. We got to understand that we are the tent. And this is why. And you see, now we begin to talk about the furnishings. And who's helping us furnish our tent? You see? Look at Exodus chapter 25, verses 9. Again, I read from the Abrahamic-Faith Bible. According to all that I show you, that is the pattern of the tent and the pattern of its furnishings, just so you shall make it. That's what's going on with us right now. Now our tents are being furnished. How many of you got a tent? How many of you affirm that you are a tent? Now you got to furnish a tent. What are you putting in there? Well, you starting to, man, our Kohen is giving us heavy doses of things that we can put in our tents, right? To furnish our tents just the way how we want it. Just like we want it. Like I was telling you guys earlier, family. If some things work for you, continue to do them. Continue to shine them up and put them all and arrange your tent just like you want it. Let's face it. Now we understand it. We're tents. We're mobile. That we can move. That you have so much freedom within the Torah. I want you all to understand that this day. so much flexibility. You're so adaptable. You within the confines of this Torah is truly freedom. You're free. You're free to do whatever you like to do that's going to bring you peace, love, joy, and happiness. Whatever you want to do. However you see that. And it's going to vary amongst the family. It's not going to all be the same for everybody. Some people this makes people happy. Some people that makes people happy. So be it. So I tell you, HaKohen's lecture on feeling and true faith is feeling, true belief is about feeling. That was just that just blew me away. That was Revelation times 10. Because it really is based upon feeling. It really is how you feel. And I want you all to note something, because I like to look up new nuances and what's new and what's being created, what's being invented out there. I want you all to look at this when you get time. I'm gonna text it in right here. I'm gonna text it in. Put it in all caps. I'm gonna text this in right here. You see, the world is starting to get hold of the importance of feeling and how important feelings are. Is that if a person feels a certain way, then they'll be a certain way. And it's all about how a person feels. The best advertisements in the world and the best movies tug on people's feelings. Think about that for a minute. It does tug on your feelings. Anybody name one of the best movies that they ever watched? And maybe old school that still stick with you today. I'll tell you one of them. I like that movie Forrest Gump. That's a feel movie. Makes you feel. You see, you get emotions and you actually feel. Yeah, Avatar. That's another feel movie. There you go. Anybody else out there? I tell you, you know what? One of my best feel movies was Glory. How many of you seen Glory with Denzel? A lot of great actors in that movie, by the way. Denzel Washington. But that movie Glory. Ooh wee. You want to talk about a feel movie? That movie stick with me. The feel movie. Yeah, Civil War Regiment. Great movie. Yeah, there you go. That was that movie Glory. I mean, a lot of great actors in that movie, but they portray the history of, the people of color here in America, what they had to go through and what they did. How Stella got her groove back. That's another great movie. A feel movie. These movies stick with you. Why? Because, they have feeling to them. And thus they attach to you. But I tell you, the commercial world is grabbing hold of this. And Eddie's, I want you to take note of this one, because I think this is a spat coming down the pike. But this guy created this thing. It's called a Happy. Look that up. This is like a bracelet. You wear this bracelet, and it actually helps you feel however you want to feel. If you want to feel more happier, you want to feel more excited. It's a bracelet. And what it does is it emits magnetic waves. This is interesting stuff. I'm telling you. And so they're saying in the stock world, in the business world, they're saying that this thing is going to be like the next the iPod. How many of you had an iPod? I had an iPod at one time. Remember the iPod? You could put all your little music. They said this is going to be like the next iPod. Everybody's going to want to have one of these things. Because it's going to, and I got a friend of mine, he's got one. And he's been using it. He said, man, this thing really does work. Now, this thing is going to set you back if you want to circulate the money. So I think it's like $350, something like that. But, I mean, I'm not going to circulate monies for one of the machines. But I am looking at investing, into the stock that's going to be dealing with this Happy thing, they call it. The Happy. You see, because it make you feel happy. How many of you in this room don't want to feel happy? So even the commercial world is catching on to, people's feeling. And, this is why I do believe people run the churches and they run all these kind of buildings, because they want to feel a certain way. They want to feel it. Thus they're feeling, stews of belief. And so they believe in that church. They believe in that synagogue. They believe in that temple. Because they get a certain feeling there when they're amongst all those other people. I'm encouraging the people today to look, you listening via, Facebook and YouTube, is to get that feeling from within yourself. You are the tent. You don't have to go run to whoever, anything outside of yourself for that particular feeling. It's all within you. You just got to dig for it, and it's in there. But we've been taught for so long, the conditioning has been so strong for us to look for everything outside of ourselves, even in relationships. Where do you go to look for love? They tell you got to go look for love in a significant other, not in yourself. It ought to make a day, where you say, okay, let's do some self-love, like Valentine, but for yourself. You know what I mean? To where people can focus just on themselves for a change, not their job, not their significant other, not mama or daddy, not anything else but just themselves. And really begin to understand that that's where it all begins and ends, with yourself. With yourself. How about worship yourself? Self-worship. Come on, man, it's real tent talk now. Because if our Hebrew gives us the word ahel for the word tent, and that first character in ahel is the aleph, that's saying a lot. The aleph chant has been powerful, but not as powerful as Gimel for me. But the aleph is the all in all. You see? The aleph is truly the all in all. Note this in our Hebrew. 22 characters. I'm going to say this and it's going to sound beautiful. We have the aleph and the tav, just like they have in the American alphabet from the A to Z, right? We have the aleph to the tav. Now, I want you all to look up those two characters. The beginning and the end. The aleph starts with a man. The tav is what? What's the symbol for the tav? The tav is the tree. Now, Sean loves that symbol. He'll sit there and look at that one. The tav. What is a tree symbolic of? Being rooted. Deep roots. Our whole Hebrew alphabet, aleph tav. I say the aleph and the tav. It's all about man rooting himself. This is life in a nut. This is life summed up. And your journey here on this earth is all about man and for you women in the room, women rooting themselves like a tree from the beginning to the end. That's what life is all about. How you gonna root yourself? Are your roots gonna go deep? Or are they gonna be superficial to where, man, you get a big windstorm and there it goes. That's it. You're done. You've been uprooted. Think about this for a minute, family, when we look at our 22 characters, from the beginning to the end, from the aleph to the tav. It's all about you as a mobile individual, a mobile man, a mobile woman, rooting yourself and planning yourself and establishing yourself in your roots. I mean, and guess what? They don't have to just be in one place. My wife has showed this to me. She's taken part of her plants and she's taken some of the roots out of. She kept the main plant, but she took some of. How many of you do this? You take some of the plant and then you go replant it somewhere else, and it grows and it thrives and it does just as well. I've seen her do that. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So you can root yourself in more than just one place if you so desire. You see? Eddie says grafting. That's awesome. Indeed, transplanting. That's what she does. And she'll take the plant, and I'm like, man. And that plant is just thriving and growing, and she takes some of the roots. She don't take all of it. The big part of the plant is rooted there, and she'll take some of it, and she'll go replant it, and she'll nourish it, and she'll care for it, and it'll start to grow. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Isn't that beautiful? Just multiply. Multiplying. And I sit there watching, and I'm like, wow, Baruch Hashem. How come we can't do the same? From the aleph to the tav. we're just mobile and we're just rooting ourselves all over the place. When we look at us, and I'll tell you, that's the beauty of the dispersion. So when I see the dispersion, I imagine in my visualization is I see just roots all over the place, all over this world, just being rooted and sprouted up, and then you're planting yourself, and then guess what? You pick up some of yourself and you go plant yourself over here, and then so you just make all this shade and all this shelter for the whole world, all over the place. And this could just be one individual person, family, or it could be multiple individuals, or some folks just, oh, I'm happy just being rooted right here. So be it. That's what life is all about. You grow in your tree. How does a tree grow? From the top, from the top down, or from the bottom up? Think about that for a minute. When you look at a tree, how does it really grow? What you see on the exterior above the ground, you're like, okay, man, this tree's getting really tall. But do you know it's doing the same thing below, sub-level? It's actually the roots are going deeper and deeper, or they're expanding out to the left and to the right. They're extending out, or it's going deeper. Isn't that beautiful? That's what life should be all about. You're not this, and never visualize yourself as this old wilted tree. See yourself as these tall trees that you see in these parks, man. These big old tall trees that seem like they're going up to the heavens, man. Their roots are just as deep, sub-level. Isn't that beautiful? But that's what we are. We're Israel. We're totally mobile. And so when we have this tent talk, it's all about man talk, woman talk. Well, what do you want? It's not the building. It's the man. And that's the lesson that our Torah gives us in many ways, shapes, forms, and fashion. This is why you go to Israel and you can't find our temple, because it's in ruins. And I see why the powers of Israel did that. Because he didn't want our focus on a building. He wanted us to focus on the man, focus on the woman, right? Focus on the man and focus on the woman. That's where our focus needs to be. How are we rooting ourselves when we look at that tile? Look at our tree. Let's get our roots in deep. And be happy. Be full of, full of just belief in yourself. That you can do anything that you want to do. You can be anything that you want to be. You can be as happy as you want to be. You don't have to go buy that machine, that happy machine. You don't have to go buy that $350 machine or whatever to be happy. But I guarantee you, a lot of people are, I'm going to watch this stock. I'm going to watch this. And see if they go public, somebody buy them out and they go public, I'm going to watch this because I'm going to invest in this because I know a lot of people, they don't have what you and I have. They don't have the coin in the gate to give them guidance and direction. Before Happy came about, this little device that you put on your arm, Hakoin was already, he was already telling us about all this stuff. This is how you're going to be happy. You want to be happy. You want to be full of love. You want to be full of peace. These are default settings for all of humanity. Now, commercialism has got a hold of it, and now they're gonna profit off of it. That's just what it is, right? And they say yes. Just like his lectures and some of the things he shared. Now it's a product and we can invest in it. Oh, yeah. And I want to see how many people are, and I know human beings are going to want to invest in that because they want to be happy. They want joy in their life. And anything that can help facilitate that, they'll purchase it. You got to put this instrument on. It's going to emit these magnetic waves. That's going to, give me a good feeling. So be it. Can you imagine this? Making money off people's feelings. Newsflash, right? Making money off people's feelings. Go figure. So, these are the kind of things that are out there. But I just wanted to bring the tent talk, the tent talk to our understanding from our Hebrew point of view of what a tent really is. What a building really is. It's a man at the end of the day. Our temple's in ruin, but believe me, Israel is alive and well. And the God of Israel is as well. Because he's with that man and he's with that woman today, wherever we are in this world. Believe that. Feel that. And make it real for you. Because it is. This is our history. This is our language. We have to protect it. We have to guard it. But even more importantly, we have to utilize it. And that's what our Kohen is teaching us, how to utilize it to our benefit, to make our lives better, not worse, to make our lives better, for the betterment of ourselves, for the betterment of man, so that we can plant the tree. Not no shrubs here. We're planting trees here. This is the top. We're planting trees. We're not planting no little shrubs. No. We don't do that. We plant trees. And all of you are partakers. And all of you are protectors. And all of you are bringing shade. You bring in shade. And you know, what do trees do? Anybody ever study trees? What do trees really do? I'm going to study that this week. I believe trees help save the environment. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they help nurture the environment. From the animal kingdom to the plant kingdom to the human kingdom. They actually help save the environment. They make the environment better. They make the air better for the ozone layer and all that. Carbon dioxide levels and all this, that, the other, and the third. Think about that for a minute. Consider that going forward. My wife, I'm telling you, she's growing everything out there in the sun, and I'm eating it too. And it's good, the way she cooks it. So we need to consider these things going forward, Mishpachah. Furniture, there you go. Hey, always and forever. Let's not mention homes. There you go. I was going to say, I'm in my home right now, and believe me, they use a lot of wood on it. Baruch Hashem. So a lot of trees. I mean, my goodness, you're a tree too. Man, woman, you're a tree. See yourself as a tree. Many different uses that all the family are naming off the trees do. So what does that mean for us? We should be multifaceted with many different uses and many different abilities that we can utilize to help this world that we've been given dominion over, right? That we're dominating, right? But we're dominating in a good way, and I say dominating with all humility. That we're dominating in a good way, not in a bad way. And we're furnishing the whole world. Get that. What do we just read in our Torah? That the Most High, the God of Israel, wanted particular furnishings just the way He wanted them. And we're furnishing the whole world as trees. Isn't that beautiful? Man, you just tell you, it doesn't get any better than that. But you won't hear these kind of things in churches because it's so caught up in just this rote dogma. But at the end of the day, it's all about the man and the woman. That's what it's all about. Not about the building. What is that man and woman going to do with that building? Now, you see, now we're talking something. Are you going to go and invest in a Big Lots? You going to go open up your Big Lots store? You going to go open up you a Dollar Tree store? Oh, now you're cooking. Now that building is utilized for you. Utilized to make money. You're going to utilize it to provide services for others? What are you going to utilize the building for? Now we're talking. You see, just like the woman with her testimony. She wants to buy this land or buy this house to do what? To flip it, to make money from it. And also at the same time put somebody else in the house. I mean, what good is that? Win-win all the way around. All the way around. Believe me, somebody's going to be happy to have their own home, right? Having their own home makes a lot of people very happy. Right? Let's go back to feelings. At the end of the day, that's what it goes down to. It all boils down to it. And I want to see how this happy device is going to take off. Because as a student of human nature, that'll tell me, wow, the world really does want a particular feeling. They really do want to feel good. And at the end of the day, I truly believe that is the case. And this is why I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And I'm going to circulate monies into this. Well, I'm going to follow this happy. I'm going to follow this, see what it does. See where it goes. Well, on that note, we're wrapping up for this Shabbat. Enough said on this end over here for this Shabbat going forward. But yeah, I mean, our Hebrew language is awesome, isn't it? Our Hebrew characters is even more awesome, right? Eddie's saying, are you looking forward to Coinbase IPO? Yeah, because full disclosure, I'm in Coinbase right now. I buy my Bitcoin through Coinbase and my Ethereum through Coinbase as we speak. I have an account right now. So yeah, I am kind of looking forward to that as well. But remember, when they IPO, don't believe the hype. Try to get in. I try to get in a week after they IPO because I find that, the stocks shoot up and then they have a fall. I noticed that with a majority of them, that they'll shoot up and then the prices will come down and more reasonable prices where you can buy in. I got that advice from a good investor on, hey, Eddie's, I listen to, I have a TD Ameritrade account and I listen to, TD Ameritrade have their own channel. They have their own channel. So I've been streaming their channel a lot. They have a lot of great, a lot of good advice you can get off of there. And their platform is amazing. I'm just still trying to learn it. I've been learning it for over 3 years now. I love their platform, and that's where I have several accounts there with TD Ameritrade. I really like them a lot. So I like their Thinkorswim platform. So I use their and so now they have this station, they have this channel, and so they talk about investments, and they actually talk about how to use their platform, their Thinkorswim platform, which is awesome. So yeah, full disclosure. So I like them as well. So they've been saying a lot about another good tip. They've been saying a lot about the copper. Get with copper and get with lithium. These are stocks that are going to move too. Actually, copper's already moved this week, I think, a lot, but they're saying copper and lithium. Lithium is what's used to make these car batteries for these electric cars. So lithium is really going to move as well. So these are some areas you may want to look at as well. The battery side of things are just really where it's at. If you can't invest in Tesla, invest in, like what I always talking about. You don't have to invest in the big companies, but just invest in those suppliers that these big companies need. That's the key. And some of these suppliers that these big companies need, these are like little SPAC companies or little companies that, just trying to, get in. And you get in on them, and before you know it, they're the next Amazon. And that's how it goes down. So, Baruch Hashem. So we give thanks always. And I look forward to, for the toys. Mattel. Look at Mattel. I'm in Mattel because Nakshan. I'm buying a lot of Mattel because Nakshan, my son. So I get a lot of Mattel 1-year-olds. So Mattel products, they're moving as well. I'm surprised to see that, but they are moving. So Mattel. That's another M for Mattel. I'm pretty sure everybody in this room has had a Mattel product at one time or another. From a Barbie doll to a Tonka truck. I'm pretty sure all of you have had a Mattel. You probably got some in your house right now, so that's another one that's on the move as well. So, yeah, things are moving, and we're going to keep moving with it. We're flexible. We're so adaptable to any situation, and we're adaptable to our abundance, to our benefit, to our prosperity, to our success, and that's just the way it is. We're Israel. And when we benefit, guess what? Everybody else benefits around us. This is why. When people bless Israel, they could truly be blessed. Because, again, this is all circulation of energies. And you put out good energy going to come back to you. You circulate bad energy, then guess what's going to come back to you? Bad. That's what it is at the end of the day. You can't blame, God, nobody. You can only look at the man, the woman in the mirror, right? Because we're tense. You can only look at that man and that woman in the mirror and deal with that individual. And decide what kind of tree you're going to be. Maybe I'll ask that question next Shabbat. So this week we'll go out and research trees. And I want everybody to come back next Shabbat and name the particular tree that they are. Baruch Hashem. Because there's a lot of great trees out there. So we can do that this week. And we'll come back and somebody remind me to make sure we ask, what kind of tree you are. What kind of tree are you? Baruch Hashem. So on that note, we'll say Shabbat Shalom and Shalom Shalom to all of you. Have a great 6 days of labor ahead. More importantly, enjoy your Shabbat. It's sunny out here. I'm going to take my shine. There's still a little bit of snow on the ground, but it's super sunny. Supposed to be a hot day today, and we're just going to enjoy it. And make memories, Mishpachah. Make memories. So Shabbat Shalom and Shalom Shalom to all of you, Mishpachah. Enjoy your 6 days of labor ahead, and enjoy your Shabbat with your families.
If you wish to support our work, you can go to www.forever-israel.com or www.abrahamic-faith.info, and there is a donate now icon for PayPal, and you can send in a donation of your choice from that particular address. You can also use Cash App, and you can use PayPal directly, and you can send a donation to Shimon63, SHIMOUN63 @yahoo.com, or you can send a donation to SIMALT with the Cash App. We greatly appreciate your support in this endeavor for us to spread the truth and the correct way for people to better their lives and to serve the God of Israel in their lives. Thank you, and may you be blessed forever. Amen. Amen.